Good evening. Welcome to the latest live edition. You haven't got the day wrong. It is Wednesday. Last Ball Boxing for 1 week only, going live on a Wednesday. Good evening, Andy.
Evening, pal. How are you?
Oh, living the dream, living the dream. Yeah. Anyway, let's get on to boxing before I start crying.
Don't you just love hotel rooms that have got crap air conditioning, mate?
Oh, yes. I won't name them. So let's kick off then, Andy, with Dave Allen then. So I'll let you take this one because, as you know, I've been travelling all day, so I'm not really up to date with this one. So I'll hand it over to you.
Well, I found this quite staggering, mate, when I saw the clip. Dave Allen. So for anyone that doesn't know, and you should all know now, unless you've been living under a rock, that Dave Allen has come out and said he had absolutely no drug tests during this camp, no drug test before the fight, and no drug test after the fight. Cole, considering how much noise drug tests are making recently, how many people are failing drug tests, high-profile fighters, I'm staggered that Boxer. I mean, we go in on Matchroom, we go in on Frank Warren shows. We've got to do the same thing when it comes down to something like this. How have Boxer put a premium show on and not drug tested the fighter? Now, I don't know whether it's just Dave Allen, because I don't know whether anybody else has been asked the question that was on the card. But you would think if Dave Allen's not been drug tested, the likelihood is Fraser Clark's not been drug tested either. You know, has anyone else on the card been drug tested? I mean, there was Liam Smith and Eubank were.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because Matchroom always being vilified for all these positive tests that people say are coming from their stable. However, there is a flip side to that, where basically they're doing the most testing out of the whole lot of them. Now, I know that's a very clever spin from Eddie Hearn, if I'm honest, but it is what it is. By all accounts, it costs about 30 grand for this drug testing. Well, you can't tell me there wasn't that money in the pot for Liam Smith versus Chris Eubank Jr. Pay-per-view, stadium fight. So it's beggars belief somewhat, but other boxing platforms, and one particular one in Canada, however they can lay the blame of failed drug tests at Eddie Hearn's door, like they was doing on a certain show on Friday night, I really don't understand it.
No, it's crazy. You can't blame a promoter for a fighter failing a drug test. That's down to the fighter. It's down to his team. Maybe down to the gym, but that's it. That's as far as you can put it. It can't be blamed to anybody else. To try and put it on a promoter. A promoter may often not see that fighter until fight week.
And there is an argument. The only bit I would say is that, like, we've been over it a million times. I'm not going to go there again, but Eddie Hearn didn't cover himself in glory in trying to keep that fight going. But he admits that now.
Yeah.
But I almost take my hat off to Eddie Hearn a little bit, because let's be honest, he's putting his money in his wallet where his mouth is by testing, and by all accounts, he's talking that he may be testing these fighters for every card now.
So it should be,
which is a big investment. But the march has got on other promoters is they need to be doing the same then.
Yeah, they do, mate, because it is expensive. You can understand why certain cards get tested more than others, the cards that have got the money, the cards that are higher profile, but that's not right, is it? It needs to be across the board. And whether that comes from the fighter, whether that comes from the promoter or the broadcaster, it somewhere along the lines, it's got to be across the board, it's got to be right. So it was made public that Liam Smith and Chris Eubank Jr. were UCAD tested for this fight. If they were UCAD tested, why the hell wasn't Dave Allen UCAD tested? It makes no sense.
It's a question that only UCAD can answer, really, isn't it? Or Ben Shalom.
Well, someone has to answer it, mate. It's a serious, and I'm not even going to call it an accusation from Dave Allen, because why would he lie about something like that?
Well, no one's come out and disputed it, have they?
No. It's absolutely crazy that a fighter that was on the main card, high up on the main card, fighting against, let's have it right, someone that boxer are pushing to the top in Big Fraser Clark, how he's been allowed to fight without a drug test it's criminal, mate.
See, if I was managing Fraser Clark and you got a Dave Allen who's, with all due respect, has not fought at this level for a while, and let's be honest, it was Dave Allen's cup final, wasn't it, really? The likelihood of him getting another fight at that level is quite remote. Surely, if you're in Dave Allen's camp or his promoter, you're screaming for a drug test, aren't you? I'm not saying Dave Allen would. I'm not saying he ever has. But you'd want to make sure everyone was clean. I think we need to get to the place in boxing where, it's just a given that you're going to be tested.
Well, yeah, I completely agree with you, mate. And it's clear there's not enough drug testing going on in boxing.
No.
I had this conversation with Liam Dring on the interview that I did with him. It's even confusing to boxers, mate, because he was under the impression that on these main cards, these boxers are screened all year round. And that's not the case. Half the time, well, we've just found it out with Dave Allen. He hasn't even been drug tested in fight camp, or fight week, or fight night, or post-fight. He's had nothing. So that goes to show you that these tests are not going on enough. It shouldn't just be called.
I mean, Dave Allen's got a peer on him, hasn't he? Coming out and saying it. He's got a peer on him.
Good on him for saying it, because it needs highlighting, don't it?
I agree. Proper fighting man, tough career, been, had his highs and lows in the sport.
Yeah.
He obviously loves the sport, and that's why he's trying to protect it by raising the flag.
He loves the sport, mate. He's also got his own fighters that he manages now. And
yeah.
So he's got their vested interest, Anti. So yeah, you got to give him a lot of credit. It takes some guts to come out and do that against a big promoter. It needs to be said as well. So congratulations to Dave Allen.
I do think Eddie Hearn's ramping the pressure up on the Warrens and the Shaloms by mentioning, he's almost turned the negative into a positive, because all of a sudden people are screaming about the amount of matchroom fighters being found positive, but then he's pivoted and said, yeah, well, that's the reason why that is because I'm actually testing my fighters. What are you doing with your own? And it's a very good argument. So it'd be interesting to see how this all unfolds, because every interview Eddie Hearn's doing now, testing's coming up into it.
No. I mean, VADA, as everyone knows, is voluntary. You don't get tested by VADA unless you sign up for their testing pool. So it's down to UKAD only. Clearly,
what I mean, Eddie Hearn's mentioning the situation around testing every time he gets a microphone put under his nose.
Well, of course, he's under pressure, mate, because unfortunately for Eddie Hearn, and I do believe it's just a case of bad luck, that the last 4 high-profile drug fails have been fighters under his watch.
I believe
that is under his promotion.
I believe it's because he's testing more than the others. I think if they all tested equal amounts, the likelihood is it would probably have a similar amount of positive.
I don't think that was the case previous to Alicia Baumgardner, but I do believe that's the case now, and I think that's probably the case when we come to Joe Cusumano, who's the most.
Well, let's have it right, Andy. We won't name names, but how many times have we been at small old shows and a high-profile fight has been found positive, and all we hear from boxing people, I'll leave it as vague as that is, everyone's at it.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah. It's a sad state of affairs, mate, and it's almost as though people within boxing are resigned to the fact. It's like, it's almost matter of fact now. Well, yeah, they're all at it anyway.
And that's where I'm coming from, Andy, when I say I think if all promoters tested the same amount of times, you'd probably get similar outcomes.
You would. But what you would also do, mate, fighters would stop doing it. If fighters are doing it, they would stop doing it because they know they're going to get caught.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, at the minute, they don't get tested enough. They know that they're not. They know that UKAD are not just going to randomly come up, and if they do, it's going to be very, very unlucky for the fighter. Randomly come up when the fighters are out of fight camp. So the period of a few months they've got between fights where they're out of camp, that is probably the time. If fighters are going to be doing something, that's the time they're doing it. And that's the time that probably they should be tested more. But
yeah, the worrying thing is you don't play boxing, do you? It's not like any other sport apart from
mate, it's not.
UFC.
It's a serious matter. And we've said this a million times on the show. What's it going to take before this all changes? Does somebody have to die in the ring, and then you find out that his opponent's absolutely rammed full of drugs, and got much more punching power and got much more stamina and can fight for longer and fight at the highest level for longer? It's a lethal weapon. A boxer himself's a lethal weapon, but then you add drugs into the mix, mate, and it becomes, well, I've said it's criminal. And if someone's found on drugs and someone dies in the ring, then it's murder.
Yeah. I think it's time the boxing authorities, the latest ones come from New York Commission, right? Am I right in thinking?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. So, very frustrating. It's about time all these promoters, all of these broadcasters all got their head together and made a stance, because the sport's going to die, mate. People are walking away from it. Fans are walking away from it because they don't know who's on drugs and who's not on drugs. You know, you've had two high-profile fighters that in Ben and Alicia Baumgardner. Alicia Baumgardner seemed to come from nowhere, and then she's knocking people out for fun. Now, that might be down to pure training, mate. But the fact that she's now tested positive doesn't look good. And the fact that she's steamrolled everybody that she's been in with.
Well, there's parallels with Conor Ben, isn't there?
I was just about to say the same thing. You can lay the same thing at Conor Ben, in that, again, it might be nothing. It might be down to pure training and the fact that he's grown into his male strength, if you like. Is this a bit where we talk about your trajectory? Go on, do your trajectory. That I was always going on about. But it's true, mate. He did massive things really, really quickly. He improved loads and loads and loads really quickly. I want to believe, and I'm sure you do, that that's down to his hard work and his training team. I don't want it to be down to drugs. I don't want it to be down to enhancements and the fact that, you know, he's been caught with a minute sample. You know, anyone that understands this sport knows knows about cycles. I don't need to be preaching about cycles of drugs. But fighters that want to cheat, and I'm not laying the blame at anybody here that's been tested positive. If they want to cheat, they know how to play the system. Because so do the scientists. But so do the scientists. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, exactly. And scientists, nutritionists, anyone they want to bring in to do a certain job, they can currently, the way the testing process is, they can get away with it because they know they're not going to get tested enough. The likelihood is they're only going to get tested when they go into camp. It's not enough, mate. No. It should be random drug tests all year round and constant ones as well. But not like, it shouldn't be a case of, we're coming down to drug test your fighters. It should be a case of knocking on the door, we're here to drug test your fighters. Yeah, and the penalty needs to fit the crime. You can't be like Canelo, for example, where they give him a 6-month ban knowing that he had 6 months in between fights anyway. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, so something drastic needs to change, mate, because the sport's losing credibility because of it.
Right, we kind of done 2 in 1 there, so I'm going to jump straight onto this one because I'm quite intrigued to see what you say about this. So obviously Jake Paul, Andy wants to give him some credit, and again another story that I've not really been covering today due to travelling. So Andy, you have to take the lead on this.
So anyone that watches this show, it's because standing joke. Anyone that watches this show knows I hate any sort of topic that's got anything to do with Jake Paul, anything to do with misfits, anything to do with YouTuber boxing, because it's taken away from the main boxing sport. But I have always, and Cole's always given Jake Paul credit for what he's doing as a promoter. And this, mate, I don't think I'm over exaggerating here. This could be as big as boxing going from 15 rounds to 12 rounds. This could be that important. So, Daz, you're right, mate.
Yeah, mate, you're right.
Yeah, no advertising on the show, please, Darren. No advertising.
Get it in there, Daz. Get it in there. Daz, we're just talking about this Jake Paul situation. I don't know whether you've heard it, but Amanda Serrano, her next world title fight is going to be 12 3-minute rounds.
Yeah, I've heard bits.
So I'm you know how much I hate Jake Paul and I slate him every single time we bring a topic up about him. He actually needs some credit here, mate. I was just halfway through his speech saying that I do slag him off a lot, but when it comes to his promotion and how he's bringing his fighters through and the respect he gives his fighters, you can't do anything but give him credit. And this one, I've just said it there. I think this could be as important in the future. When you look at history, this could be as important as championship boxing going from 15 rounds to 12 rounds. It could make that much of an impact. Imagine Amanda Serrano having 3 minutes against Katie Taylor per round.
Yeah, I've actually been discussing this tonight with Nick Otway to Jim. But there's a lot of arguments for and against, to be fair, because it's like, yeah, she could. I mean, the pace they set off at in that last fight was crazy. You just can't do that in 3 minutes. So,
and they'll learn that, won't they?
Yeah. See, I think this is a one-off, personally. I don't think this is going to get brought in for some considerable time.
Well, let's see. I mean, but you've got to give Jake Paul and his promotion MVP, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to give them.
Yeah. Listen,
you got to get promotion credit, Daz, for actually dipping the foot in the water here, because no other mainstream promoter has gone anywhere near this.
Yeah. See, I think, mate,
genius.
I think it's gonna, and it could catch Serrano out, mate. I think it's gonna catch some female fighters out. I really do.
Well, of course it will, because they don't train for 3-minute rounds. Do they?
I think a better step to start with, a better toe dip in water, would have been 12 twos.
Yeah.
Rather than go straight.
The problem with that, Daz, is that's only going to happen for a championship fight.
But 12 rounds only happens really for. I mean, yeah, I know we have these, these fights where it's a catch rate, but it's always between two world-class fighters that fight 12 rounds, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but what I mean is that's never going to change anything for the majority of female boxing, then, is it? The fact that the 3 minutes thing, if you ask them the majority of female fighters, they'll say they want 3 minutes.
They do until they get it. And then it's an whole different ball game. Mate, some of these female fighters who are like on top of the game, mate, fighting 2 minutes, probably wouldn't be the same fighting 3 minutes. It's a world of difference.
You have a point about the pace that was set in the Serrano-Taylor fight. And and there's absolutely no way they can fight at that pace for 3 minutes, for even 10 rounds for 3 minutes, even 5 rounds for 3 minutes at the pace they set. So there is an argument, and I kind of agree with it, that you're taking some of the excitement away from fights in the likelihood is they're going to slow the pace down.
What you'd get with 3 minute rounds, you get more stoppages. You get more stoppages in women's boxing with that.
And I'll be honest, I quite like it as a product regarding 2 minutes. I think they built their momentum on it being a product of 2 minute rounds because it's let's be honest, a little bit more exciting.
I think they should be fighting 12 rounds, 12 2-minute rounds for a championship. I don't see why that's not happening. But
I have another argument as well.
What you're gonna have with 3 minutes is let's wait and see what happens with Amanda Serrano's fight, because Amanda Serrano could very well fight that and not like it. She could very well set off at a pace and be like, misjudge this. We don't know. There's a lot of variables that could happen. She could fight that and think, you know what? It's not suiting me. This 3 minutes isn't suiting me. Do you know what I mean?
Of all the female fighters, though, Daz, I think Amanda Serrano's one of them that it will suit because of her style.
She's busy though, isn't she?
She is busy, but what she does is she throws lots of punches and she puts fighters under pressure.
Yeah, but
I think Amanda Serrano would end up getting lots more stoppages.
But you see, I don't think that suits her. Then, if she's going to set that pace, now what if she blows out? It's going to backfire. It's going to suit.
Yeah, of course, there's that possibility. But but personally, other fighters, I can see your point. I don't think Amanda Serrano falls in that category, mate.
Well, if she fights as she fought Kate, and same with Katie Taylor, there's no way that that'd go past 4. No way.
No.
And it's, I mean, listen, someone who picks the punches like a Sandy Ryan, it'd probably suit Sandy more. She picks a shot. She's very, methodical.
Yeah.
It's horses for courses, mate. To be fair. I mean, listen, I said to Nick tonight, I think 3 minutes would suit her. Because of her fitness. But she said, I'm not too sure about that. I think it's just going to be a one-off. I don't think it's going to get brought in because you're going to have female fighters who they know it's not going to suit them. So if you've got, let's say, Tasha Jonas, if she thinks it's not going to suit her, she's not going to be made to fight 12 threes from 10 twos. I just think it's too much of a change. I think going from 15 rounds to 12 were a big issue with that with safety. I think that were a big factor in that. So I think upping the women's game from 10 twos to 12 threes is going to be. I can't see that happening as more than just a one-off. I really can't. Not for time
maybe
being.
They won't go to 12 threes, but maybe they'll go to 10 threes, Daz.
Even then, mate.
I think 3 minute rounds has to come in at some point.
Maybe so, but I just think it's too big a jump. 12 twos, I think, is a better dip. Is a better dip of the toe. It's a bit of a baby step. It's the same amount of rounds, but obviously there's a minute less in the round. So, listen, I can see him trialing stuff like 2.5 minutes first.
I mean, the one thing this does allow, Jake Paul will forever be known as the first promoter who tried 3 minute rounds in female boxing. So it's very clever from a PR perspective.
Yeah, it is, mate, and I can see his point, because women are like saying, well, if the men fight 3 minutes, then why aren't we? It's women's boxing's evolved so much. It's come on so much, and I just think that let's say if in 2 weeks they bring in it's 12 threes now, I just think it's it's too big a jump too soon. I'm not saying that I'm against it, and I think it probably will happen and should happen at some point. But I just think there's too many. I mean, with women's boxing, you've got fighters who are world class and then fighters who are. Do you know what I mean? I think there's too big a gulf.
So I'll put that comment up in the side. So Joe said Nicola Adams did 3-minute rounds, but it never took off. Doesn't seem to be the appetite for it. Frank Warren, Adams promoter first.
Yeah, I get what Joe's saying there, Carl.
Forgot about Nicola Adams.
I get what Joe's saying there, and he's right. That did happen, but that was at a time when female boxing wasn't at the level that it's at now. I think there's a massive clamour for it, and like I say, I'm the first person to jump all over Jake Paul and his boxing ability and what he calls out and all that. But when it comes down to his promotion, you have to give him credit. He's also, I believe, made Amanda Serrano the highest paid female fighter in the world. And he's also, if this means anything to you guys, I think it means a lot to certain females. He's also dropped out of the headline world title fight. He's dropped female or women's. He's taken it out. He's just world title fight. Now that might not mean anything to a lot of people, but it will mean a lot to certain female fighters. You got something right, and I'd be up for Jake Paul being a full-time promoter, Carl. I think he does an attitude.
Thing is, he's new to it, innit? He's new to this.
He puts eyes on the sport.
Yeah, he's new to. Let's see. Let's judge him. If he carries on doing it, let's judge him in a couple of years.
He's a disruptor, though, isn't he? He likes to disrupt things.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, listen, and it like you said, you guys have said, it's good. It's good for the game. It's good for it. And if he's trying to evolve women's boxing even more, then great. But I think baby steps are needed at first.
I just think it's quite refreshing because you don't care who he upsets, and the fighters get paid well, like you said. Serrano, what he's done for her career.
Yeah, you see, what we don't want is Amanda Serrano to box 12 threes. Absolutely love it. And then, it's probably not going to happen. But let's say if Katie Taylor beats Chantel Cameron, and so there's a rematch with Serrano and Taylor, that become a stumbling block because Serrano wants it over 12 threes and Katie Taylor wants it 10 twos. Do you know what I mean? I just hope that they don't, things like this don't start happening. Yeah. One fighter thinks, well, listen, let's say with Sandy Ryan and Tasha Jonas, for example. Let's say Sandy Ryan's all for fighting 12 threes, but Tasha Jonas in, and any unification doesn't happen because of that. I just don't want things like that to happen. At minute, things are clear cut. We know what the rules are. We know where we stand. But I'm all for progression, and I do think that, yeah, they probably, do deserve to. Listen, I think they'll trial 2.5 minutes first before they do full-on threes.
See, I think they'll either keep it at 2 or they're just going to jump straight in for 3.
Be interesting.
It is very interesting, and we're just going to have to see how the Serrano fight pans out, and just see whether it does change her style, Daz.
Who's she fighting, mate? Who's she fighting?
I'll have to look. I don't know. It's for a unified
featherweight. Is it featherweight titles?
Yes, I believe so. Hold on, I'll have a quick gander. You two carry on doing what you're doing.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if she fights 3-minute rounds and absolutely hates it. You know, we don't know until it happens, do we? It's
No.
fair play to him for trying it.
Well, it's another 50% of time to fight, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
A long time.
it is definitely. And the thing is, 2-minute rounds are ingrained in her. She's been fighting 2-minute rounds for how long? So
For a very long while, mate. She's had like 48 fights as a pro.
yeah, so it's and listen, no matter how much she does it in training, in sparring, and all that, it's
Under the lights.
Yeah,
Completely
under the lights, mate. It's different.
She's fighting Daniela Ramos, but it's for her belts, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what date's happening on, Andy.
It's on October the 27th.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Which is a Friday night.
Be interesting to see what happens.
Right, let's move on then to the last topic. So I thought I'd throw this one in because his Wild and his dogs obviously wants to jump in with Eubank Jr. by the sounds of it. So I thought we'd just have a chat about who we actually think it's going to be. So obviously we got Joe in the sidebar who's still doing his lap of honour from his prediction. So no doubt Joe will probably want to throw his hat in the ring here. I did remind Joe that it's the first one he's got right, so he deserves his lap of honour. So, Andy, I don't know if you want to do the first one regarding who you think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a Kell Brook, someone like that. I don't think it's going to be a Triple G.
Well, first and foremost, Cole, I think Chris Eubank needs a little bit of respect for not doing what he would have done a couple of years ago and gloat about the win. He's been very respectful. Certain media outlets have tried to push him on it as well. They've tried to push his buttons, and he's not bit. He's been very respectful towards Liam Smith, and kind of been quite laid back about the whole situation. So respect to Chris Eubank for that, because it shows he's got respect for Liam Smith and his family and his team. We obviously need to talk about Bomac as well, but we'll come on to that very shortly.
He's only round the corner from me. I might go and visit him.
Who do I think is going to face next? I think you're right, Carl. I think it's going to be Kell Brook or Conor Benn, depending on how quickly they get Conor Benn a license.
Well, they're talking about Ben fighting on the Orlando card, aren't they?
Yeah, well, if they get him, if his license comes through, mate, then that won't happen, will it? Because he'll fight Eubank instead.
I think he'll fight on the Orlando card.
Yeah, I'm not convinced he will. So you got a choice. You've either got Eubank waiting there to fight you, or you go and fight in America where no one knows.
What about doing both?
Nah, it won't happen.
Why? He'd been out of the ring for ages, and Eubank changes fought. So why wouldn't he have a run out?
I hear what you're saying, but he's come out of his own mouth, mate. He says he don't need a warm up.
He needs a payday.
Yeah, he'll get one, won't he, when he fights Eubank?
He can have both.
Yeah, it won't happen.
He'll have a soft touch in Orlando, and then the
only reason he'll fight in America is if his license don't come through soon enough, and then he'll have to fight.
I don't think it will. So I think he'll edge his bets. He'll have a fight in America with the hope that his license comes through for that December fight against Ben.
I'm still a little bit underwhelmed by the fact that Eubank's calling out welterweights. I'd rather him call out middleweights. There's plenty of them about, or he's super middleweight even. If he struggles to make middleweight, let's say him call out super middleweights. There's enough for them.
And not a great division.
No, it's the middleweight division.
Well, there's talking of maybe Zach Parker, isn't there?
Who do you think they would win in a fight? Catwoman?
Well, you see, I think you might get something come out in the news very shortly that a massive fight has turned down Zach Parker. Don't know who that is, but I know I know Neil Marsh is eager to let everyone know, but I think he's waiting. That'll happen at some point. So maybe that's already been discussed, mate. Maybe
If
that's
that is Andre.
I don't know, mate. It's a big name, though. He reckons it's going to shock everybody when it happens.
So during the sidebar, I told you come to life. I'd like to see Junior fight Cullen for the British. Big up Cullen, by the way. Never saw that happening. You won't fight for the British. No,
he's never going to fight for the British title. He won't fight for a European. I mean, he keeps talking about fighting for a world title, but is that ever going to happen?
There's not enough money in that British fight.
Is he? No. Is he happy? Is he happy taking paydays, Carl, and fighting people that he should be beating that are 2 weights below him, 3 weights below him?
Yeah, in a word. Yeah, he'll just go where the money is. I don't think.
What's your thoughts on this?
I think it's hard, mate. Who for him to fight next? I do. I mean, I'd like to see him in with Smith again in Decider. In an ideal world. I mean, I don't hold any credence in calling out Kelbrook. I mean, I just think that's like, you know, I've ignored that. I hope that doesn't happen. Conor Benn, would I like to see that? I mean, you know my opinions on Conor Benn. He's a bit of a classless individual as far as I'm concerned. I mean, would I like to see that? I mean, let's be right. Conor Benn's a welterweight. You know, Eubank's naturally bigger. I think that's
just on that, Daz. Just on that, the last fight was made at 157.
Yeah.
I don't believe for 1 second that if the fight gets made, that Eubank will agree to 157 again. I think the lowest he'll go to is 160.
Yeah, possibly, and then you've got the thing where Conor's got to come up from 147.
I mean, I think Conor. If you look at the size of him now, and how he's been training, I think he's probably already up at that weight.
Yeah, possibly. I just it just all stinks to me, mate. All this situation, you know, but it is what it is, isn't it? Money talks, and
we had this conversation when the fight was made originally, and I think we were all in agreement that none of us actually wanted to see it because of the weight differences.
Yeah,
it's not. I mean, they've tried to build it off of the name of their old man's, right?
Yeah.
They were classic fights. They were both the same weight. They were classic fights. I mean, yeah, Eubank was probably a little bit bigger than Ben, but at the end of the day, they both fought each other at middleweight, and they both went up and fought each other at super middleweight. It's equal grounding. You're not getting equal grounding with Junior and Conor. It's not equal grounding. And whoever wins that fight, mate, the other one's always going to have that excuse. Well, I had to come down. I had to come up.
Yeah, listen to the sweaty nurse. Oh, yeah, you're going further downtown. This guy's the trash talk is embarrassing.
He's froze.
It makes no sense in it.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah, he's back now. Are you there, Andy? You're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, those Morecard exclusives are great. I really need my Morrison's Morecard.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
You're all right, Darren. Yeah, I can hear you now, yeah.
The kids' favourites, Target.
I don't know what you last heard of what I said, mate.
Just go through it again, Andy.
An excuse. They've got a ready-made excuse. I think you said, didn't you?
Yeah. So for me, it's all about money. It's only about money, mate. That's it. Nothing else.
But they're not the only ones to be all about money, are they?
No, I get that, Carl. But you don't often see fighters going up 3 weights or going down 3 weights just for money. Eubanks, his whole career's been about fighting for money. It's not
Yeah,
about
yeah.
fighting for belts. And I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, mate. In an ideal world, I want to see him in with Smith again.
He won't go there though, will it?
No, I don't think he will. No.
He won't go there. He'll want, like I say, he'll want a Brook. Some of the names he's banding about. Yeah. Andy, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate.
So just reading Joe's comment, I don't want to see Ben in a British ring again. He'd been nothing but disrespectful towards the British Boxing Board of Control and the testing system. Get him in the bin.
That's what I like about Joe. You don't sit on the fence. Unfortunately, Joe, it's going to happen because the British Boxing Board of Control will crumble.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the board find it very difficult, don't they, to when it comes to the big promoters, to be honest. Because let's be honest, the big promoters got deeper pockets than they have. That's the truth of it.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, if Eubank does fight Triple G, how do you see that fight panning out?
I mean, I think it's plainly obvious that Golovkin's not what Golovkin was.
Yeah.
No.
He's got a better chance now than he would have had last time it were muted.
He still gets beat though. Golovkin still beats him.
I don't know, mate. I'd probably like to say yeah, he does, but I wouldn't say it with any sort of massive confidence, if I'm honest. Golovkin probably still has got a bit too much left, maybe. But like I say, I don't say that with any great confidence.
Golovkin's really, really tough, and what Cole said the other night about shots bouncing off him, yeah, they might do, but I don't think they will do for 10 or 12 rounds. I just think Eubank's he'll go into that fight and he'll fight the old Eubank way where he's throwing lots and lots and lots of punches close up, because that's the only way he can beat Eubank is pressure. That's the way the only way he can beat.
Yeah, but Canelo couldn't get him out there, could he? So what makes you think Eubank could?
No, I think Eubank's best chance would be at range off at jab.
Outpoint him.
Yeah, just try and pick him off.
Yeah, he's not got a lot of power, has he?
No, I mean, the thing is, if he stands up close to Golovkin and throws a lot of shots, he's in Golovkin's territory then, anyway.
Yeah, you got good point there. Yeah.
You know, I think his best asset would be to try and walk him onto some at range, really. But whether you can do that for 12 rounds, I don't know. But that's the way. It might be a case it might look $1 million for 6 rounds and then just get worn down.
I don't think he'll keep Triple G off.
No, maybe not.
I'm not sure Golovkin's got. I'm not sure Golovkin's got enough left to do what he used to do, though.
Wait, he gave Canelo a fight.
Not really, mate.
Well, he did. He hung around, didn't he? It was competitive, wasn't he? At least.
I don't know about being competitive. He hung around because he's tough, but he wasn't competitive.
Well, we're not putting you back doing anywhere near Canelo, surely.
No, it's a completely different thing.
It's all about levels, isn't it?
But it's all about styles as well, mate. What the famous saying, styles make fights, and
I think you're going off one result. Is not fit to lace Triple G's boots. He's had one good performance against under par Liam Smith, and everyone's getting a bit carried away.
No, I'm not at all getting carried away, mate. And there's no way he'd be anywhere near the Triple G that's of decent level.
I think
what I'm saying is I think Triple G is deteriorated to the point where he's got a chance.
Yeah, he's got a chance. He's got a better chance now than he had when obviously Brooke stepped in. I think I'd prefer to see that than a Brooke fight
Yeah.
or a Ben fight. I'd prefer either Liam Smith third fight or Golovkin.
A Brook fight would be dreadful.
Yeah,
It'd be
but
absolutely
again, Eubank's got the size advantage, hasn't he? And you know, last time Kel went in with someone who had a size advantage, he got hurt.
Well, I mean, look at what happened with Crawford, mate. And that wasn't even a size advantage.
No.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Kelly's dining out and he's got a little bit of inspiration from what he did to Amir Khan. And let's have it right, mate. Amir Khan was
shot to pieces, mate.
See, Triple G's got a lot more left than Kell Brook has.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, of course he has. Yeah, and he's got the size as well to absorb the shots. I mean, Kell Brook looks like from what I saw the other night, it looks like he's in decent shape. It looks like he's keeping himself in a bit of shape. But I just want to see him stay where he is now. Stay retired, mate. Don't come and ruin your legacy.
Well, I don't really understand why he's jumping back in, because what more of a swan song to end his career on than beating Amir Khan?
Well, that was the one shadow over his career, wasn't it? That Khan
It must be money. It must be money he needs, I'd imagine.
And maybe he's just not got rid of that itch, though, Carl.
Yeah, that's probably it, mate. Probably just wants to, thinks he's got one last night in him.
But Carl Froch's had that itch for years and years. There's a way of managing it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I mean, personalities are different. Maybe Brook can't manage it. Maybe his personality doesn't allow him to manage it. Maybe he needs the spotlight. Maybe he needs the adulation from the crowd. Maybe he needs the ring walk entrance.
But Conor Benn's a bit of a charlatan as well for calling out the names he's calling out as well, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, Conor Benn's been called Pacquiao out and all.
Yeah, why don't you go and fight the top end of your division then?
Well, it's exactly the same thing, mate, isn't it? It's easy pickings, but it's a good name on your record. Look at Amir Khan against Barrera. I mean, that was disgraceful. That whole situation.
Yeah. I mean, again,
Amir Khan's got Barrera on his record as a win. That's
again,
problem,
weight advantage, wasn't it? A lightweight against a natural.
It did nothing for his career, though, did it? It did nothing for his profile or career because boxing fans saw through it.
Yeah.
If anything, it changed his career because fans couldn't believe what he was doing fighting a legend at that stage of his career.
Yeah,
I'd
it
argue.
wasn't a good look.
I just wonder about Conor Benn. I know people think I'm going on him, but I'm not. But he says I'm a bad man, I'll fight anyone, then calls out names that is just beggars belief.
Makes you wonder, don't it, whether his promoter's getting in his ear and saying, look, this is the biggest fight I can get you. It's the most amount of money I can get you. Has he got people turning his head with things like that?
Well, I wouldn't jump in the ring with him until he's got a licensed person, so I'd imagine his options are fairly limited.
Well, that's why they tarted him ever in America, isn't it?
Why he's going to fight on the Orlando card, like I said.
Again, like I say, that if he does, that'll only be because his license ain't come back through, mate.
Well, it's not rocket science, is it? He's been out the ring for God knows how long. He needs to get rid of that ring rust, so he'll have a run out in Orlando, get his license, I'd imagine, and then fight Chris Eubank Jr. in December.
So Joe in the sidebars asked, has Triple G not retired? He vacated his belts. That don't stop Eubank calling him out, though, does it? Kell Brook's retired as well, by the way.
I'm not sure he has retired, I don't.
Whether he has officially or not, but come on.
Interesting.
Guys, you weren't on the show when we talked about, at the very start of the show, we talked about Dave Allen's comments about the fact that he wasn't drug tested at all in this process going into this fight with Fraser Clark. He didn't get tested in camp. he didn't get tested pre-fight, and he didn't get tested post-fight. Not one single drug test. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that they're saying that mainly that's because it weren't a title fight.
Oh, come on. It's ridiculous, though, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, it were a 10-rounder. Yeah, of course it is. It were a championship distance. I mean, it's an area title distance, that, or an international title. So yeah, it is a bit ridiculous, but I think that's the route that they're going down.
Bad news, that, mate. It's a bad look for boxer.
Yeah, it's not great, mate. It's not great at all.
I mean, we've done this already on the show. We've talked about what needs to happen because it can't carry on. You've got another fighter in Joe Cusumano, heavyweight from America, that's now failed a drug test.
Yeah, I've seen.
Unfortunately, again on Matchroom's watch, Carl's line of thought is that the reason these fighters are getting caught on Matchroom's watch is because Matchroom are doing more rigorous testing.
Fair point.
I mean, surely there's got to be standardised now. It's got to be standardised. It can't just be flaky. Oh, well, UCAD are doing the testing for this fight. Well, how often are they testing? Well, I think they might just roll up when they fancy it. I mean, come on. This sport's dangerous enough, isn't it?
It's not great. It's not great.
I appreciate it's expensive, and you can't do it for every single fighter for every single fight. But when it's a massive show like a pay-per-view card, they've got to be testing all the fighters on the card.
Well, let's have it right. There's enough money in the coffers, isn't there, to be paying for the drug testing?
Of course there is. But it's just one of them, innit? It's madness.
It don't do the sport of boxing any good, though, does it?
No, definitely not. It's not great. But
anyway,
where do we go with it there, Az? What's the answer?
Oh, they need more testing. Everyone needs to be tested.
And the funding, Dad's got to come from somewhere, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I remember when they weren't, like your brain scans. And then I think Frank Warren come up with something, didn't he? That enabled, or someone did that enabled it to be, scans as routine sort of thing.
I mean, boxing as a sport, Dad. You got Barry Griggan who tried to bring a union, a pension funding, didn't it?
Yeah,
that fell flat. I don't know what it is about the sport of boxing. Maybe it's because it's not got a governing body. But it's very much live for today, isn't it? There's no real, let's set a pen. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it needs bringing in, mate. It needs testing. Definitely.
We've all seen the other stories, haven't we, about the world champions who have got nothing now, and
yeah, it shouldn't happen, mate. Shouldn't
50
happen.
years gone by.
Yeah, it shouldn't happen. But
not just
sadly,
that, Carl, but there are stories about fighters that have retired and they can't cope with retirement, and they end up going into a massive downward spiral because of the fact they can't deal with it, and no one's there for them.
There needs to be a lot better aftercare, I think. A lot better aftercare. Oh.
Because it's a rich sport, let's be honest.
It is, mate. It is. Yeah, it's crazy.
It isn't the very top end. It's not a rich sport for...
Well, there's parallels in football, isn't there?
Let's say 90% of people that fight. It's not a rich sport for them. It's a rich sport for the top...
Like I said...
Not even only the top 1 or 2%.
But it's not the only sport to be like that, is it? And other sports have managed to give aftercare and support grassroots, etc., etc. So it can be done.
The money from these massive pay-per-views and these distributing better than, don't it?
If you want to do something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what it is. But it is what it is.
When you get in, the problem is though, when you get into gigantic fighters taking the lion's share of the purse on a let's say on a big pay-per-view card, when they're taking the lion's share of the purse and then the promoters scrapping to pay the undercard, that don't leave any money for anything else. Maybe the structure needs to be a bit different, and maybe.
I mean, what is it a test? Is
Percentage
it
of
about £1,000? Is it about £1,000 a test?
What we're talking? A drug test?
Yeah, is it about £1,000 a test or something?
I
I
don't know.
don't know how much it is. I know Eddie Hearn bands around a 30 grand figure.
I mean, is that for a year or I don't know? I don't know, mate. It's a bad area. If they're not getting tested, it's.
But if
a
you
bad
think
area.
that's how many fighters he has on a card, he's talking about covering his old card.
Yeah.
You're not far wrong, are you? You know.
No. But do you think 30 grand's would affect him really?
No, but it would a small oil show, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, you can't do it for
It'd kill
them.
him, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you can't do it for them.
Financially.
But, yeah, it's mad, isn't it? But
And it's taking you into territories of like funding, isn't it?
yeah, definitely.
And 30 grand's a lot of money for anybody, isn't it? It's
It
fine.
is, mate. It is definitely.
Because these small oil shows were already ran on a very tight margin, aren't
Mate, they probably, mate, if a small promoter breaks even, I think they're happy.
Yeah.
You're right there, mate.
Right, I'm gonna have to jump off, lads, and get some food. So
No worries. Well, we'll bring it to an end there. So this has been Last Bell Boxing with lwliftings.co.uk. Thank you to Darren for joining and jumping on, much appreciated. Thank you to Andy for joining as well. This has been Last Bell Boxing, live again next Thursday, 7 p.m. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you next week.
Sound. Right.